There was a time in my life when I thought I had it all figured out. I had plans, ambitions, dreams so loud they drowned the silence. But somewhere between the noise of chasing and the fear of failing, I lost the map. Days blurred into nights. I wasn't living, I was just surviving. Every breath felt heavy, like I was dragging the weight of the world behind me, pretending it was fine. But inside, I was crumbling, piece by piece. It's strange how chaos doesn't start with an explosion. It starts quietly, with small lies you tell yourself. I'm okay. It's not that bad. I'll fix it tomorrow. And before you know it, tomorrow turns into years. You wake up one morning and realize you don't even recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. That was me. Lost, angry, empty, but still breathing. And as long as you're breathing, you've got a chance to rebuild. The first thing I learned was this: stand up straight, even when you're breaking inside. There's something powerful about refusing to bow down to your pain. I remember the first time I looked at myself in the mirror after losing everything that mattered. My shoulders were slumped, my eyes hollow. I looked like someone waiting to disappear. But that day, I made a promise. I straightened my back, lifted my head, and whispered, "Not today." It didn't fix my problems, but it reminded me that even the smallest act of defiance against despair is still victory. I started walking differently after that. People looked at me differently too. They didn't see the war inside me, but somehow they respected the way I carried it. And little by little, I began to respect it too. Maybe strength isn't about being unbreakable. Maybe it's about standing tall while everything inside you screams to fall apart. Then came another truth, one that hit me like a punch to the chest. I realized I had been treating everyone better than myself. I'd go out of my way to help people who wouldn't even return a text, but I'd ignore my own pain like it was nothing. Why? Because I thought that's what being a good person meant. But kindness that never reaches inward eventually rots. So I started treating myself like someone I was responsible for saving. I asked myself, if my best friend were in this pain, what would I do for them? And then I started doing that for me. I began to sleep better, eat better, forgive myself more. It wasn't easy. It felt unnatural at first. But healing always does. You know what else I learned? You are who you stand next to. For years, I surrounded myself with people who clapped when I fell. They made jokes about my failures and called it just teasing. But their laughter echoed in my head long after they stopped talking. So I walked away. I lost a crowd but found my peace. And when I found new people, the ones who didn't envy my growth, who didn't laugh when I dreamed big, I realized something important. Real friends don't compete, they build. They see your light and add to it. And that light started to grow again when I stopped comparing myself to others. I used to scroll for hours, staring at people who seemed to have it all: the perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect life. But comparison is poison. It steals your joy and replaces it with shame. So I made a deal with myself. I would only compare me to me. Yesterday's version versus today's. And when I did that, every small win started to feel like a miracle. Growth became less about proving something and more about becoming someone worth being proud of. One day, I looked around my home and realized how much it mirrored my mind: messy, cluttered, out of control. I kept complaining about how unfair the world was, yet I couldn't even keep my own space in order. That's when I learned to clean up my chaos, starting small. A drawer, a shelf, a phone call I'd been avoiding. Each small act was like planting seeds of control in a field of disorder. And the more order I created around me, the more peace I created within me. But peace isn't comfort. Comfort kills growth. And I'd been too comfortable blaming everything but myself. The truth is, meaning doesn't live in comfort, it lives in struggle. The things that make your heart race, that scare you, that force you to confront who you really are. Those are the things that give life weight. I stopped chasing what was easy and started chasing what mattered. It hurt sometimes, but at least it was real. Then I made a decision. I would tell the truth. Or at least, I'd stop lying. Lies were easy. They protected me. They made me seem stronger than I was. But every lie built a wall, and behind that wall, I was suffocating. So I tore it down. The first time I told someone how broken I really was, I thought it would make them leave. But instead, they said, "Me too." That's when I realized honesty doesn't drive people away. It brings the right ones closer. I started to listen more after that. I used to think I had all the answers. But the more I listened, really listened, the more I saw how blind I'd been. Every person I met had something to teach me, even if it was how not to live. When you stop assuming you're the smartest person in the room, the world starts whispering secrets you were too loud to hear. Words became my weapons after that, carefully chosen, clean, honest. I learned that when you speak vaguely, you live vaguely. Saying, "I'm fine," keeps you trapped. Saying, "I'm hurting," opens a door. I started naming things, my fears, my regrets, my goals. And when you name something, it loses some of its power to control you. The world is full of fragile people pretending to be strong. I saw that when I watched children fall and get back up. No one told them to stop. No one rushed to save them. They just got up, again and again, until their knees were full of scars and their hearts were full of courage. I realized that's how we should live, unafraid to fall. Because every scar is proof that pain didn't win. And maybe the most beautiful thing I learned is this. When everything feels unbearable, when the world goes dark and quiet, look for the small mercies. The stray cat on the wall. The smell of rain after a storm. The sound of laughter from a stranger's window. Life hides its beauty in tiny moments. You just have to notice them. Because sometimes, surviving isn't about fixing everything. It's about finding something worth holding on to when everything else is gone. There were nights when I thought I'd never get out. When the silence in my room felt heavier than any noise. When I didn't see the point in trying anymore. But every time, something pulled me back. A memory, a face, a spark. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was just the stubbornness to not let the darkness have the final word. But whatever it was, it saved me. And now, when I stand here, still bruised, still imperfect, I realize that every mistake, every loss, every heartbreak taught me something that no comfort ever could. Life isn't about being unbroken. It's about being real. The truth is, we don't rise because life gets easier. We rise because we stop expecting it to. Every rule I learned wasn't from a book, it was from the wreckage of my own decisions. Standing tall taught me courage. Caring for myself taught me compassion. Cutting out the wrong people taught me peace. Speaking the truth taught me freedom. And every time I fell, I learned something priceless. Falling doesn't mean failing. It means you're still moving. You're still alive. So if you're listening to this, if your heart feels heavy and your hands are tired, I want you to hear me clearly. This isn't the end. You can start again. You can stand up. You can rebuild. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because this world doesn't need another perfect person pretending to be whole. It needs people who have walked through hell and still choose to stand. People who have been shattered and still choose to love. People who have seen the worst of life and still believe in something better. I don't have all the answers. I never will. But I know this much. Meaning isn't found in avoiding pain. It's found in facing it, understanding it, and letting it shape you into someone stronger. And maybe one day, when you look back on all of it, the chaos, the heartbreak, the endless nights, you'll realize it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Preparation for the moment you finally became who you were meant to be.